Your first paycheck hits your account. You see $1,500 sitting there, and for the first time, it feels like you actually have money. So you start thinking about everything you've wanted to buy. Maybe it's a new phone, some clothes, a few meals out, a night with your friends, and because you've just started working, spending $100 here or $50 there doesn't feel like a big deal. You look at your account and think, I still have over $1,000 left. That's where the first mistake can happen. That $1,500 isn't all spending money. Some of it already belongs to your future bills. Some of it needs to stay in your account. And some of it is genuinely yours to enjoy. The problem is that when you've never had a regular paycheck before, you don't have a system for separating those things. So you spend based on what's in your bank account. And your bank account makes you feel richer than you actually are. Imagine getting paid on Friday and spending $300 over the weekend. You didn't buy anything crazy. You went shopping, ate out, bought something you've wanted for months, and went out with friends. Then Monday comes around. Your paycheck still looks pretty good. But now you've got your phone bill, transportation, subscriptions. Maybe you're expected to contribute toward household costs, and you've got another 3 weeks until your next paycheck. Suddenly, that $1,500 doesn't feel like $1,500 anymore. This is why your first paycheck isn't really about how much you earn. It's about learning what your money is supposed to do once it arrives. Before you spend a single dollar, you need to know 3 things. How much do I need to keep? How much do I actually need to spend? And how much can I enjoy without worrying about the rest of the month? Once you know those numbers, you can finally spend some of that first paycheck without feeling guilty, because you'll actually know what you can afford. So what should you actually do the moment that first paycheck arrives? Let's say you bring home $1,500. Before you spend anything, split that money into 3 categories: money you need, money you keep, and money you can enjoy. Start with the money you need. Write down every expense you know is coming before your next paycheck. If you have $200 in bills, $100 for transportation, and $100 you need to contribute toward other costs, that's $400 already spoken for. Set that money aside first. Now you've got $1,100 left. Next comes the money you keep. This is the part that's easy to ignore when you've just started earning. You don't need to save every dollar, but you should decide on an amount before you start spending. Even putting $150 aside from a $1,500 paycheck gives you something to build on. Now you're left with $950. That's the money you can actually make decisions with. You can spend some of it. You can buy something you've wanted. You can go out with friends. You can enjoy getting paid. The point isn't to make your first paycheck miserable. It's to make sure your fun money comes after you've handled the things that matter. And there's one rule that makes this much easier. Don't wait until the end of the month to see what's left to save. If you do that, you'll probably spend whatever happens to be sitting in your account. Instead, decide what you're keeping as soon as you get paid. Then your bank balance becomes much more honest. If you see $950 available for spending, you know that the $150 you wanted to keep isn't secretly available for a shopping trip. It's already been given a job. And this becomes even more important once you start getting paid regularly, because your first paycheck is exciting. Your third paycheck starts feeling normal, and that's when it's easy to increase your spending without even noticing. You get used to having money. Then the phone upgrade seems reasonable. The nicer car seems manageable. More subscriptions seem harmless, and suddenly your entire paycheck has somewhere to go. So before that happens, build the habit now. Bills first, savings second, spending third. Once those first 2 are handled, enjoy the money that's actually yours to spend. The first few paychecks are where something important starts happening. You get used to having money. At first, spending $100 feels like a lot. A few months later, spending $100 barely registers. That is when your lifestyle can quietly start expanding. You upgrade your phone because you can afford the monthly payment. You start eating out more often because you have a regular income. You add subscriptions, buy more clothes, and maybe start thinking about a nicer car. None of these decisions has to be a disaster on its own. The problem is when you turn all of them into permanent monthly expenses. A $20 subscription doesn't sound important. A $60 phone payment doesn't sound important. An extra $150 for a car doesn't sound impossible. But suddenly, you've committed to another $230 every month before you've even decided what you want to do with your paycheck. So when you get your first job, give yourself one rule. Don't immediately increase your fixed expenses. Let your income become normal before you build a lifestyle around it. And there's something else you should do with those first few paychecks. Track where your money actually goes. Not forever, just for your first month. Look at every purchase and ask yourself what category it belongs to. If you spent $200 eating out, that's useful to know. If you spent $150 on shopping, that's useful too. You're not judging yourself. You're learning what your actual spending looks like. Then compare it with what you planned. If you plan to spend $300 on everything outside of bills and savings, but ended up spending $500, you now know exactly where the problem is. You can adjust before the habit becomes normal. And remember that you are allowed to enjoy your first paycheck. Buy something you've wanted. Go out with your friends. Celebrate getting your first job. Just make sure you don't spend the entire paycheck trying to prove to yourself that you can finally afford things. Your first paycheck should give you something more valuable than a shopping spree. It should give you control over your money. So when that first paycheck arrives, don't make your first decision about what to buy. Make your first decision about where the money goes. Take your take-home pay and write down every expense you know is coming before the next paycheck. Set that money aside, then choose an amount you're going to keep, even if it's only $50 or $100. Move it somewhere you won't accidentally spend it. Whatever is left is your spending money. That's the part you can enjoy without wondering whether you've accidentally spent money you needed later. And for your first month, track every purchase. At the end of the month, look at what actually happened. Maybe you spent more on food than you expected. Maybe transportation cost more. Maybe you barely spent anything on entertainment. Now you have real information instead of guessing. Then use that information for your next paycheck. The goal isn't to become extremely strict with money the moment you get your first job. It's to build a system before your spending habits build one for you, because your first paycheck might only be $1,500. But eventually, it could be $2,000, then $3,000, then much more. If you learn how to manage the first amount, managing the bigger amounts becomes much easier. So enjoy your first paycheck. Buy something you've been wanting. Celebrate. Just don't let one exciting deposit turn into a lifestyle you have to keep paying for. Your first paycheck shouldn't just show you how much money you can spend. It should teach you how to control the money you earn